All right. Got it. All right, at 4:30 p.m., I'm going to call this meeting to order. Let's go ahead and stand for the flag salute. All right, ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excellent. Well, thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here to be part of this listening session. The first thing we're going to do as our roll call, we're going to just go around the table, introduce ourselves, and share your name and what your role in the district is. So I'm Bree Van Rokel, and I'm the Director of School Improvement.
Natalie Eberhardt, high school teacher.
Anthony Carmack, special education teacher at Pioneer High School.
Denby Durham, Barnes Butte Student Success Center.
Steve Miller, fourth grade teacher at Crooked River.
Scott Cooper, board member. Kevin Bradley, board member.
Tammy Parker, executive assistant.
Joe Vieira, HR director, district. I'm just gonna briefly go over how we're gonna go through the listening session. Made a script, so I don't forget anything, so excuse me if I read through it real quick. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. The purpose of this listening session is to gather your feedback regarding the potential appointment of our interim superintendent, Dr. Joel Hoff, to the role of permanent superintendent. The board values hearing directly from stakeholders as part of the decision-making process, and your perspectives are an important part of that. This particular session is organized for certified staff. Again, thank you for being here. As part of this process, a survey was distributed to all stakeholder groups, and the results of that survey were read aloud at the February 9th board meeting. Those results are one component of the board's consideration. These listening sessions provide additional opportunity to gather more detailed input and ensure voices are heard beyond the survey responses. Today, two school board members are present, Mr. Cooper and Mr. Bradley. Listen carefully and taking your feedback. In terms of format, we have 45 minutes available and we'll end promptly at about 5:15 if full time is needed. Our goal today is listen carefully and ensure your voices are part of the board's consideration process. Thank you again for being here, and with that, we'll go ahead and get started.
Excellent. Before we jump in, is there any questions you all have? What? I will preface this with sometimes these questions can be a little bit awkward. As much as possible, we want to frame it as a discussion. So board members might jump in with, tell me more about that, or things like that. So just know that we're just here to chat and learn more. So the first question that we have that you can see in front of you as well is, what has been your experience with the interim superintendent so far? What stands out to you about Dr. Hoff's leadership?
I'm trying to practice wait time and not talk first. So I'm gonna let you guys talk first.
We just do like a nose go situation. No.
Can I ask how long each of you have been with the district?
5 years for myself.
21 years for me.
22.
Okay.
10.
21.
So some of you have been through a few superintendents.
Lately, yeah.
Yeah.
Anthony's been here 5 years.
I was gonna say, even I have. Seen a few. Yeah.
And it's my 25th year in education, but my 10th year here is the county.
Yeah.
My old,
I don't mind
please.
go ahead and start. Just one thing, I really appreciate about Dr. Joel Hoff is that he remembers everyone's names. I am like, I don't know how he does that. But I just feel very seen, you know, as a young staff that's kind of newer and stuff like that. Joel's always like just recognized me, said hello, known who I am, what I teach, you know. Very personable and very like just relational. You can tell he values relationship and he knows his staff, you know, and that's really cool. Even in his role previously, you know, when he wasn't the interim superintendent, I oftentimes saw him just making those connections. He's very good at making connections for people. And I saw him doing that with you know, just all sorts of people in it. I think that's a really cool ability to have in a leader. So he's very good at making connections.
He also knows people's spouses and their kids.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
remembers them. It's
Asks about my wife every time, you know, all those things. Yeah, he's got a great memory. Super cool.
One thing that's always stood out to me with Dr. Hoff is just his optimism, his feeling like, yeah, it's bad now, but here's like 2 little things we can do to make it better. And we've been through some bad times, Dr. Hoff, been through some great times too, but like his idea of like, hey, it's gonna get better. We've got a plan in place. I know it's hard right now. We just had a labor relations meeting with him before this one, where like we were dealing with some pretty hard, heavy things. And he's like, okay, we've got a plan. We're trying this. If this doesn't work, we'll come back together and see what we can do for the next couple steps. So that idea of, yep, it's hard right now, but it's gonna get better. And here's like a couple of reasons why. So I always enjoy that.
So he refers to relentless optimism
Correct.
as his driver.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a weakness in that? What happens when we come up against
The real hard.
some recent situations?
I think he covers that with the data-driven aspect that he has. He's always in a data cycle. So the thing that I appreciate with him, both when I knew him as assistant principal at the high school and then in his roles here at the district office and his current role, is there's a relentless optimism because he's always constantly evaluating, did it work or not work? So he doesn't get stuck in there's nothing we can do about it. We may not have the answer right now, but this is what the data is telling us we need to address. And so let's look at what's out there or what's not out there that's gonna fit us to address it. But then let's evaluate if it's working. It's not just that this is what we're gonna do no matter what. It's this is what we're gonna do for now. And then if that's not working, we'll reevaluate what's happening. Cause I've had superintendents, I've had leaders, and it's like, this is what we're doing. And there's no conversation about, well, we tried that last year, or we tried that 2 years ago, and here were the problems, or hey, yeah, we're trying that now, it's brand new, and we're already noticing this. And then they don't address this, they just keep doing what they said they were gonna do. So what I appreciate about Joel is that it's always is it working, why is it working, what's not working, what do we need to address for what's not? It's like, if 90% of it's working, what's the 10% we still need to work on? And how can we readdress that and kind of evaluate? So it's always that data-driven cycle of, this is why we think we're doing what we're doing. Did it work? Did it not work? What are we changing? What are we keeping? And I think that's part of why that optimism is there, is that we know that we're doing things that are working, and we know that we're trying out things for the things that aren't. So to me, it's not just a Pollyanna optimism. There's a reason to be optimistic, which I appreciate.
It's good.
It's just that relentless data-driven optimism just doesn't work as a slogan.
It doesn't. It doesn't when you're out of education. I think in education it does.
I'd wear a t-shirt that says that.
We can just be raw. It's optimism, it's data driven. We can all have hot rods. My dad can bring his Corvette. We can just put rod on it. You will love it. Be fun.
Everyone needs an acronym.
Anything to add, Cindy?
I would say that I love to see how Joel's willing to get out in the trenches, get into the schools, the classrooms, cafeterias, those kind of things with the staff, parent, and students can appreciate that, where he's seen in the district. So he's very active at all members of our district can see that.
All right, ready to move on? Sweet. What priorities has Dr. Hoff emphasized in his leadership, and how have those priorities influenced the district? How well do they align with CCSD's current needs?
I don't want to. Sweet, okay, I don't want to be the first one every time either. To your point, the iterative and data driven, absolutely. Something like those just stand out to me about Joel. You know, he if it's not working, what can we do better? But also, I feel like I've had been in multiple meetings where Joel's like, who's called home? You know, like who's like talked to, who's communicated with the parent, right? And I just love that, like that, like dedication, like to emphasizing, like, hey, are we communicating with the parent, right? Are we getting the full picture and looking at a student as a whole student? I think Joel does a good job of that, balancing the numbers, but also this is a real human we're talking about when it's like a hard situation, especially in my role as a sped teacher. If Joel has to show up to a meeting, it's usually something's going on, right? And his value for being there for the family, being there for the student has always been evident, very evident. And I just really value that by his leadership style. And I think that like aligns to our needs here in Crook County because we're seeing an increase in high needs, in just, we have a lot of numbers and it seems like our student body is growing and the needs in our student body are growing. And I think that, Joel has skills to help us with that, by emphasizing, supporting the kid and looking at them as a whole human.
Also, I think to piggyback on that, I think he's willing to do the team thing, not just try to solve it himself or make the decision himself. He's willing to go to his counterparts to help him make those decisions about, maybe it's special education needs something. He goes to the people that know the best there to partner with. Admin, if it's a building specific thing, for student needs. And so, the team approach is definitely something that Crook County thrives on, and I think he's willing to do that.
Yeah, and I think he gives everybody enough like professionalism, professional responsibility that he hasn't micromanaged each school down to the point of we have our principal or our higher ups telling us, hey, the superintendent says we have to do this. I don't know why we're doing this, but they said do this, so we're gonna do that. And we've had that in the past where we ended up with things like, what are we supposed to do with this? Like, don't know, superintendent said every room needs to have, I'll make up a number line in it. And have dots all over it. But we haven't had that with Joel and his ability to really collaborate with the principals and kind of give them some autonomy. Then he looks at the data and says, hey, whatever you're doing is working, or maybe it's not working as well as it could be. What can we do to support you? I really appreciate that from him.
Yeah, I think for me, the very clear priority of Dr. Hoff is it good for kids? I think to me, that's a very important question, and that seems to always be the driving force behind anything we're doing. So if he can't answer the question of why it's good for kids, then we're not doing it, and he's not putting it forward. Because sometimes it's just, it's the trend or it's what others think is right, and it's like, what I appreciate is it's always centered around the kids, and we are a school district, we're not a corporation. And so it is always, is this good for kids? Why is it good for kids? Why do we think it's good for kids? And is the data supporting that it is? And so if all those things are aligned, then we're going to keep pushing it forward. If it's not aligned, then he's going to go back and look at, well, what else do we need to be doing? Or why are we still doing this if it's not good for kids? So, I mean, to me, that's what we should be looking at. And that's one of the main priorities I appreciate for him.
So in the survey, there were 404 people who answered it, and 390 of them didn't really have any concerns. But the 14 that had concerns had a consistent theme, which was that they said he listens too much to other people, and he just needs to come in and decide. So thoughts on that?
I mean, my response to that is sometimes people just want a quick decision. But in my 25 years in education, quick decisions always end up getting changed. And then the same people that wanted a quick decision are now complaining that decision is getting changed. And in my role as union president as well. What I have found is that thoughtful decisions, yes, make some people impatient. But when that decision is made and it's not getting changed, then they're very happy that it's not changing. But you're never gonna make everybody happy. If I had 390 out of 440 people happy with me, I would be skipping down. I would be so happy. That would be like, job's over, time to retire.
Yeah, it's a chart you would put up that like, that's a 97% approval.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
pretty darn good. Yeah, that's some happy numbers.
Those are.
I mean, I would be suspicious if it was 404. But 96, I can kind of live with, 96% of that So yeah, I mean, we're never gonna make everybody happy, Scott, you know that. I mean, if we did something wrong, that just means people haven't found out about what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, I think. I'd rather have a little bit slower, thoughtful decision, and I don't think anyone thinks that he's sitting in his office in the quicksand. But I appreciate a little bit of thought going into a decision before something's made. Personally, makes my job easier as a teacher and especially as union president to have a little bit of thought going into things.
Mhm.
Yes, please.
Moving on, how effectively has Dr. Hoff built relationships and established trust with students, families, staff, and the community? What actions or behaviors have you noticed?
I think with this one is he's a parent in this community also. He has a family in this community and he is not afraid to live that way. He can connect with the Prineville community, Cook County community as a real living member of our community. He has families that he goes to the events with his kids. His kids do the sports. And so he can show that he is among one of them in the community, and so is his family.
Yeah, and that just makes him overall more approachable. If I see him outside of contract hours at a sporting event, he's always asking, how was the day? What was happening? How'd it go? And I know in the past we've had conversations like, hey, my daughter read this story when she was in fourth grade. How did you guys handle it? It was kind of neat to see them. And so his ability to relate to kids across curriculum and staff across curriculum, because his kids are in the buildings too. It is really, it kind of makes him feel like he's one of you, even though he's the person in charge.
I think like Anthony said, I am envious of his ability to remember names. I can remember phone numbers, but I can't remember the name attached to the phone number. I can tell you what grade a kid got, but I can't always tell you which kid got it when I look at him, but I know my brain just does numbers. His brain does numbers and people, so it's great. I mean, it's like Anthony said, he sees somebody in the grocery store, he can say their first name. He's in the building, he has a story that he remembers from 5 years ago. So it just makes him very relatable. And as Steve said, very approachable. I have had superintendents in the past that I would not feel comfortable approaching, and it created a lot of difficulty to get things moving forward. That's not a stumbling block with Joel. Like he makes himself approachable, which is great.
I think, building on that too, his proactive communication with the staff has been fantastic this year. These summaries he's been sending out, just like emailing all of us staff, hey, this is what's kind of going on, this little summary. And that's been really awesome. I think like just the intentionality of him, not just reacting to staff communication, but being proactive about it. It's fantastic. Also just like, there'll be times where I'm like, I have an idea. And then I'm just like, hey, can I talk to you about this idea? And his response is absolutely, like he's just open to people coming up with ideas and solutions. And that I think is like just a really cool way to establish that he's an open person, that he's wanting the best for our community.
I mean, one thing like with students, he'll just be in the building, right?
Yeah.
And the kids are like, well, who was that? And I was like, well, that's our superintendent, but he was nice. Like, they expect the boss to be
Yeah.
mean or to be unapproachable. And they're like, well, he just came and sat with me and we talked about stuff. That was cool. So it's just his ability to be the everyman almost, in a certain sense, that he can come in and he can sit down and he can get the kids' real thoughts on things, even if it's just a TikTok video or whatever the kid wants to talk about. He's just open to the conversation. Yes, he has the things that he needs to gather and the information he's looking for, but the kids don't realize that they've been asked about their school. They just remember the cool stuff that he asked about. So, or like, they don't, or like, like I said, they don't realize that he's the boss, which makes it easy to get people's real thoughts on things, especially students. Because he is very approachable. Like, I see him at elementary schools, he's bending down. Like I've seen other superintendents that are lording over and he's always right at your level. So wherever your level is, he's gonna start there. And then, he walks away and they're like, oh, that was a superintendent, cool. You know, so this just makes him, as we've said, approachable, which is really nice.
Looking back over our history, the going got tough, Joel got going and headed for Madras. Found out the grass was not as green in Madras as he might have thought and came back. He had no idea that he was going to end up being superintendent. But is there any concern about his steadfastness through tough times, given that?
I don't know that he was looking for a greener grass. I think it was more that he was concerned he was gonna be unemployed. I think there's a difference there. I think that when some new people came in, they made it very clear there was gonna be a cleaning of the house. And people in higher positions had very clear notice that they were on watch for that. So I personally don't feel that his choice to leave was something that he wanted to do. I felt that because he had a family, he felt like he didn't really have a lot of other options at that time. And as soon as he was asked to come back, he then did 2 jobs. You know, so I think his steadfastness shows in his ability to come back, even though he wasn't sure he was gonna be welcomed by everybody to come back. So I think that more shows his character than the leaving. I think the leaving was something he didn't want to do, but he had to make sure there was food on the table for his family. And he had to make sure he was going to be employable in the long term. So, you know, we've all had to make tough decisions like that before. And, you know, as teachers, we have a contract to support us and to help us. When you're not a teacher or a classified person, you don't have a contract to support you. And so you do have to make tough decisions sometimes.
Do you think that's a pretty widely held opinion among your peers?
I think at first people felt a little abandoned. But then when there were wider conversations, they realized why decisions were made. And then when they saw him come back and they would drive by at 9 o'clock and see his vehicle still here and the light still on, knowing that he had another job and he was trying to make things right here. I think that ended pretty quick. That's my perception. What are others' perceptions?
I've never heard anything otherwise. I've never heard rumblings the other direction at all.
And the rumblings and grumblings I heard at that time were if I had the opportunity to leave the way things are going, I would leave as well.
That's what I
And
heard.
people were very honest about, hey, we are going in a direction that I don't like, that doesn't meet my educational viewpoint. If I could leave right now, I would too. And that was the vast majority of people I talked with were like, I get it. I understand why he made that choice for a variety of reasons.
Yes, it could, instead of if grass is greener, it could be, I'm not happy with the direction and, I can't support that direction. So,
I agree with I heard a lot of that same sentiment, what you're saying, Steve. I don't think anyone saw it as a negative thing, but yeah, a lot of people were thinking about that at that time.
I read a survey or two that seemed to say that.
Yeah, there's always a few. But I think the people that did say that were also very happy to see him return. You know, he came back at the end of the year and, you know, helped out in the areas that needed help. They were also very cognizant of that need and very happy that there was a possibility of a return to some normalcy with his return as well.
And I think you also can look at it as it shows the sign of his commitment and resiliency to the district and the community. Also, having been in such a hard time in our district. And yet we were able to return with positive outlook.
Okay. What components of Dr. Hoff's communication have you appreciated? What are specific communication practices that you'd like to see more of?
I mean, Anthony said it, the communication is being sent out a lot, all the time. As an employee and I'm a parent, also, I'm getting tons of communication. I don't know if there could be any more besides knocking on my door. I mean, seriously,
Oh, I know. I've heard this from multiple
Yeah.
people who are like, the phone, the text, the email, and then if you're a parent, it's double
Yeah.
everything, so like, I've heard that.
So-
Yeah.
from seeing it from both sides, I mean, you cannot say that you do not know what's going on or you have not been told. You just, the communication is pretty strong.
Ironically, as you say that, he's texting me, telling me I need to call him.
Yeah, for sure. And even when he communicates with the board, and we look through the packets and stuff, there's 85 charts and 60 graphs. Color coded with numbers every which way that even somebody who, like if you missed that part of the board meeting, you could follow along and see what the reason was. So I think his communication, he likes charts and graphs.
Transparency.
Yeah, and you can see where he's going. So I mean, it'd be hard for him to do much more than he's currently doing.
Agreed.
I think, and you know, from the union aspect, if there's grumblings out there or something that people are wanting data and information about. One thing that's nice is we know that we can tell them that people are asking for this information or have misinformation. And it would be great if he or someone in the office could send out the correct information so that the misinformation stops as much as possible. I mean, people love to gossip. Nobody's gonna stop gossiping. You know, tea is great. So that's gonna always happen. But when we know about a grumbling or we hear something, we always appreciate that. Then there is at least a clear and truthful bit of information that's coming out. That people who want to stop the gossiping and this kind of thing can present accurate information. Or can say, hey, this is what I read, here's the email, you can go ask him if you think there's something else going on or something different story that you think is true. So, you know, I would love for our members to read more of their emails so that they ask us fewer questions. I mean, but I don't think that that's a practice that Dr. Hoff has any control over. You know, if they're a parent, they're getting the Parent Square notifications, they're getting all of the other notifications. You know, our Synergy system has student view and parent view, our online systems have communication to parents. I think you have to work pretty hard to not be communicated with. And there's those that do work pretty hard at it, but
Mhm.
for the most part, I don't know that I certainly don't want any more emails or parent squares. Do you guys? I think we get plenty for those of us that read them. And as we've said, if somebody truly has a question, we just tell them, go to the district office and ask if you don't believe us. Because everybody here is pretty open. If someone needs to talk to them, they're pretty much available whenever they're here, they're available.
Right? How have you felt about Dr. Hoff's leadership around school safety and student/staff support? When concerns are raised, how confident do you feel that they are heard and addressed?
I'm gonna start, Steve. You haven't started
Well,
yet.
I feel pretty confident because we talked about staff and student safety today in a meeting we had just with the list, and we had a clear list of, hey, we're gonna try these. We're also we're looking forward into the future. How can we stop these events from happening before they are? You know, and looking at our current population of students and the way things are going, how can we be ready for if we have new students coming in November, December, after we've already set our school staffing? How can we have changes in staffing if we have changes in student population? And just that kind of idea of forward thinking about problems we don't have today, but we will have in a year. Really make me pretty confident that if it is a safety concern, he'll help get it figured out as a team and not just have a top-down directive. That this is how we're gonna remove.
Well, then there was a threat to a police officer last week where a school was mentioned. You know, that went out on parent view. Every parent got that. They were told, you know, if you want to not have your kid come or you want to come get them, we understand. These are all the things we're doing to keep school safe. You know, so I think it's just that communication information. It's like, if we have information, it's not kept in a vault somewhere, it's shared. And then families can make their decisions about, you know, how they feel, if they feel safe to have their kid at school or not. You know, I think as far as practices, you know, we've got Leland, you know, he goes around, he makes sure that we have the protocols, we practice the protocols, we do the things that we can to get ready. you're never really ready until an incident happens, and I hope we never find out if we're ready here. I mean, I would love to be able to retire in 10, 15 years and never have had an incident. You know, that would be awesome. I think, you plan for the unplannable as well as you can, but again, it goes to the communication, everybody has their protocols, they're in everybody's classroom. It's the parents have it, it's out there and the communication is there. There isn't really anything else you can do to plan for school safety, I don't think.
Well, and I think this one for staff support, we've had many conversations where he doesn't pretend to have all the answers or solve the problems. He's like, hey, we need to bring this back to another meeting. We need to have, sped there, or we need to have transportation there, or nutrition there. So getting the support of the people that may have the knowledge is also something that he does to address problems that or concerns that we bring to him. And they may not be addressed at that exact moment, but he's getting the right people there for the next meeting to address our needs.
On that topic of staff student support, it's very ambitious. The strategic plan report out took 4 11 by 17 pages the last meeting and 2 hours over 2 meetings to get it reported out.
Mhm.
Is he moving too fast? Is there too much too fast for the system?
I mean, go ahead, you were getting ready to say something. Go.
I just wanted, no, I was like more wondering in just from the big picture
What does it feel
perspective.
like sitting out there? I mean, you guys got day jobs and
Right,
dealing with little kids with lots of issues. And, you've got all this system reform. System reform needed to happen because we were in a mess, if you could even have called that a system.
right.
But, now is it too much trying to put it all back together and still do your job in your life?
From my perspective, at least, kind of to what you said, it's not these, I don't feel like there's these mandates coming down that don't have any real, like applicable action. Any directives or communication I've received is just as a gen ed teacher makes sense, thoughtful and reasonable, and have data backing them up. And that's like what we as teachers want to see. We want to see our district improve. We want to see our students improve. There have been leadership moments in the past, under different leadership where things were mandated and there were little to no explanation or data behind those mandates. And so I think all of us are all about iteration and improvement, especially when they're data driven and thoughtfully communicated. I don't feel overwhelmed by the amount of, data or communication I've received as a teacher. I feel supported and I feel like it's been thoughtful from my perspective, at least.
I think any protocols I can think of are ones that teachers or student data has been asking for. So a lot of it, a lot of what I have heard, especially at the beginning of the school year, was just sighs of relief of like, we can get back to some normalcy here. Like, this is what school is supposed to be. School is supposed to be about, does this work for kids? Why not? If not, what do we need to fix? It's not just some random thing that's thrown on here for no reason. So a lot of what I'm hearing is like, oh yay, and yes, finally, like somebody's listening, somebody's doing the things that we've been asking them to do. Which is a nice change. That doesn't always happen. When we've had ups and downs with that over the last decade that I've been here, where it's like people have felt heard and then they're not felt heard, or they feel heard, but nothing happens. So I think that, just to reiterate, yes, there have been changes, but it doesn't seem to be changes that are unexpected or unasked for. It's not just random things thrown on top of what you're already doing. It's, again, this is good for kids. This is good for system. This is why we're doing it. That's one of the things I always appreciate with Joel and his team here at the district office is it's not just do this. It's always, here's the information we have. This is why we think it's important. This is the ideas that we have. What do you think about it? Let's kind of get the think tank together and stew it out. And then let's implement it and see if it works. So again, it's that data-driven idea where it's never just we're doing this. It's always, this is what we've seen, this is what we've heard. this is what we think we need to do, this is what everyone's telling us we need to do, let's do it, and then let's come back and talk about whether it's working or not. So I think because of that included bit of, is it working, is it not, that keeps coming back, it doesn't feel new because it's been a conversation that's been going on for a long time. So I think it looks new on paper and it looks new as far as the explaining of it, but it's been stuff that people have been asking for quite a while. So it doesn't feel new to a lot of us in the schools. It's just like, oh yeah, I've been doing that, but now it's on paper.
Well, I mean, it was a very long presentation and it did take a couple board meetings, but I watched both, so I saw the whole thing. But I think that it's not something that he or the district office employees are, when they put this together and present it, they're not saying this has to be done now, right? They're looking, this is our goal, these are our goals, this is what we've met, this is what we're working on. So I think more of it as a transparency, as we're throwing all of this at you at once. It's all gonna come together in place anyway. So even though it did play out in a long report and it's a lot, they kind of build on each other and it's a timeline of just being successful over the amount of time. But when I see it's presented all at once, it could be like, wow, that's a lot of change. And I think Natalie's right. A lot of it is just supporting things that are already in place.
Well, it's basically like if you asked a first grade teacher to describe their curriculum for the year, it would take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So it's the same idea, right? It's like as teachers, we're okay with that long conversation because we think in that long conversation of like, here's our long conversation, we're breaking it down into parts, and then here's what we're doing today, and we're doing that because this is this week's plan, and that's the month, and that's the year, and that's the decade. You know, that's the K to 12 plan, right? So it's not something that we find unusual. So it's like, wow, he got done in 4.5 hours, good job. You know, I mean,
Right, and there's an end goal, like there's
Yeah.
there's projection out there, it's like we're all working towards this thing, that's like, it's encouraging, not just
yeah,
the win.
it's not unexpected for us.
All right, as the board considers a permanent appointment of Dr. Hoff, what concerns or questions would you like them to carefully consider?
I mean, I don't personally have any. I think these listening sessions are great. We put it out to the community, we put it out to all the different demographics. I think getting out and showing that we've done our due diligence as the board, not me, but they've done their due diligence, because just like any other leader, there will be a time where somebody's upset. Hey, your curriculum said this, my kid read that. Of course, you guys didn't do your due diligence. It's the school board's fault that he did this. So being able to sit back and prove, hey, we've done everything. We went to every board meeting, we went to all these meetings, we heard from the community, we did 400 and some survey results. That idea of due diligence to prove that, yep, he's our choice, or even no, we've decided to open it back up. I think that just really saves us a lot of pain, because there is going to be a time where a parent vehemently disagrees with something that's gone on in our district. It's just bound to happen in any school district, but I think that this has been a really good thing for our community and for you guys to do, to come out and hear all the different subgroups and give that everybody an opportunity to have their voice heard.
I guess my only concern is if you don't go forward with the appointment, then I would like us to choose a superintendent, like, I don't know, hunting corporation that's a little more aligned with all of the district and not just a small portion of the district. I'm very hopeful that we won't have to go that direction, but if we do, I would like more input. Like do this as far, like do listening sessions about the different corporations and people and, you know, ways of going about finding that superintendent. Because I think that was a big part of how we ended up with the superintendent we ended up with, which was not the fault of anyone sitting at this table, I don't believe, but we need to have a wider view in our candidates if we go that direction. So, you know, I'm certainly hopeful that the school board will carefully consider the option presented in front of us and see, you know, that we got double the amount of responses on the superintendent survey than we did on basically any other family survey. A lot of people put their voices forward and 96% of those were positive. I don't know that we've ever had those kind of positive notes for anyone starting out ever.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
any position, ever. But like Steve said, things are gonna come up. You know, and so it has been very important that the board is doing the steps that they're doing. Can remind people of the steps and all of the time that they had input. I mean, the entire certified staff was invited, 200+ members, and there are 4 here.
Which is by default. We didn't plan it this way. I swear.
You had a meeting just.
Doubt well.
Held hostage, no.
But I think it's just reminding people that opportunities to voice their opinions were presented. And the board went with the ones that were presented. And if people don't like those results, then they need to make sure that they're actively involved the next time that there is a decision.
Mhm. Right.
Um,
That's good.
I kind of get really tired of listening to people that don't put their voices forward. It's like you had the opportunity in more than one way. You've had so many opportunities to present your concerns. And if you didn't make the effort to make those concerns known at the time, that's why they weren't considered.
Hmm.
And they really shouldn't be considered now. Go through the proper channels to voice whatever concerns you have at this point. But that's just me.
You're right, and I would just say, I've said this at the board meeting a couple times, if these listening sessions turn out to be poorly attended and really boring, that is a really good thing.
Yes,
Because it just means
Yeah.
people are generally happy, they show up when they're unhappy, and I know we did a good job of communicating them, so
Absolutely.
Yeah.
that's a vote. Not showing up is a vote also.
absolutely, 100%.
That's how I see it.
Absolutely.
And the concern of just like, how much momentum will we lose if, you know, the board doesn't choose to, you know, fully adopt him as our, you know, the superintendent, you know, we're headed in the right direction, you know, like we've got all these, I'm looking at all these like community partners and recognitions and this, like, all the cool things that are happening, you know? Like, man, that would be so much positive momentum
Yeah.
to lose, and that would be a concern as just the staff, you know?
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to the old proverb or idiom, you know, you don't change a horse midstream. I think Abe Lincoln or someone said that, but we've been changing horses a lot lately. And like, if you think of where we are this winter break versus a year ago on winter break, like
Yeah.
we're in a whole new ballpark. And if you think of how the district itself has been, even all the way down to simple things like the number of public comments at a board meeting. There haven't been nearly as many as there once were.
0 since I started.
Right. Yeah,
We keep
so.
track,
We
don't
have-
worry.
So, you know, that whole idea, Anthony's right, at forward momentum, things are going good, why would we want to change horses if everyone kind of agrees that this horse is taking us in the right direction?
Well, it was an impressive number of results we got from the survey. I think we were all surprised at getting that many. It was encouraging to see that many responses.
All right, is there anything else that you think hasn't been captured in the survey or this discussion that you'd like to discuss? Okay, well then, with that being said, thank you for your time. I'll adjourn this meeting at 5:13 PM. Really appreciate you all being here.
Glad we caught you on the backside of the meeting.